Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Open, Shepard, all alone. Shepard breaks a tackle and into the end zone. Sterling Shepard.
18. Thibodeau got there, got the ball out, scooped it and scored. Touchdown Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau.
Second down, 5. Jones again. Oh, here he goes. He can see the pylon. Touchdown.
Barkley looking for a seam. Great cut. Saquon Barkley in for the touchdown.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jawing About the GMen Giants Football Podcast. I'm Big Jace, joined by Justin D'Onofrio from Sports Talk with R&J. How you doing today, Justin?
I'm good, thanks, Jace. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, we have you on for a very special reason. Yesterday, Selection Sunday, we're going to be diving into the NCAA Tournament, talking a lot about that. But, I mean, this is John about the G-Men. We got to start things off with the Giants. And last week, me and Sean, we were on here all doom and gloom. Oh, Daniel Jones is going to get the franchise tag. We might not get Saquon Barkley back. But they came in right at the wire, right at the end of it. The New York Giants re-signed Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract, and thus also being able to franchise tag Saquon Barkley. Sean was more doom and gloom last week. I had faith they'd get something done and bring both these guys back. And also, the rumors are now that they're working to bring back Sterling Shepard. So I won't have to change the intro. So that's good. But the big thing here with me for the Daniel Jones contract, I mean, this was his one good year. I mean, he's shown glimpses in the past, but the big thing I want to point out with this is the $82 million guaranteed, and all that guaranteed money is in the first 2 years. So to me, this is really a 2-year contract. And if he does if he does play like how the Giants want him to play, if he is good enough, if he is that guy and shows that he can be that guy for multiple years, then you have him for the 4. But if you want to get rid of him at the 2, I mean, you have him for next year. If you want to bring in a guy for that last year, maybe if he struggles this year, draft someone, have him back up Daniel Jones till that guaranteed contract's up. But I don't know. I'm just excited that they're both back in New York. The foundation is not changing up at all. And now Joe Shane and Dayball can build on this with the draft, upcoming free agency, and hopefully get the Giants back to the playoffs. But my question for you, Justin, what do you think of the deal? But also, does this put the Giants in the best position to return to the playoffs?
I think it definitely does put the Giants in a good position to get back in the playoffs, just because I think of how wide open the NFC is. Outside of the Niners and Eagles. Like I think anybody else, there's a lot of teams in that NFC that could be in the playoffs, and I think the Giants are set up very nicely. With Barkley and Jones coming back, and as you mentioned, second year under Shane and Dable, and both those guys did a really good job in year one. I think the Giants have potential yet again to be back in the playoffs. The only concern I had, and I do like it's kind of the 2-year, $82 million guaranteed. I just think the $40 million a year is a little bit too much money for him. I know he had his best year of his career, but it was only 15 touchdown passes. I know he had 7 rushing touchdowns, and I know all those wide receivers are really banged up all year, but I thought it was a little bit too much. But I get why the Giants had to do it so that they could franchise tag Saquon Barkley. But yeah, I think this really does help out the Giants, and I do like the direction they're going in. And it's a team that, I don't think they're there with the Eagles, but I definitely think it's a team that could finish second place in that division.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned the Eagles. The Eagles are also they're losing a lot this offseason as well. So I think the NFC East, even though the Eagles did just get to the Super Bowl, even though Jalen Hurts is their guy and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, with as much as they're losing, I think the NFC East is kind of wide open. I don't expect the Eagles to be as dominant as they were last year. 3 losses. I don't expect them to repeat that. So I think the NFC East, and I mean, it's been out of all of the divisions of football, there's been the most parity with the NFC East in the past 20 years. So yeah, I can see it happening. I can see this being good for the Giants to take a hold of that. And also, I mentioned the 2-year thing. I mentioned the possibility of cutting him, getting rid of it, but also I think it's just somewhere around 10 mil cap hit for this season. If they start winning, I think that 2-year mark too. That's also where you can look to restructure Daniel Jones if he feels like the Giants have done right to him, buy him, maybe restructure and maybe get some more pieces to help him out even further down the line. But I like this, and I think the future is bright for the Giants after this start to the offseason, at least.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think so as well, and I think it's important to keep Daniel Jones because I do think under Dable he did improve last year, and I think you saw. I know you mentioned earlier we've seen kind of the glimpses of that Daniel Jones could be a solid franchise quarterback in this league, and I think last year was a really good step in the right direction. So I think it's totally there, and I think he's a guy that could, under Dable can continue to improve. And Barkley, we've seen, was finally healthy this year. And we saw that, just kind of like his rookie year, that he can be one of the better backs in the entire, National Football League. And he was. So, you can keep 2 of those guys there. You hope, the offensive line, maybe they'll add another piece or 2 this offseason. Maybe like guys like Andrew Johnson will continue to improve here, this offseason. And I think the Giants right now are in a really good spot. And they do have some cap space as well to kind of, go out, do something in free agency too. And, we'll see what Joe Shane can do in the draft. So I think right now the Giants, outlook right now, and I think, they're in a very good kind of position right now, kind of continue to build.
Yeah, and I mean that is the thing. Like, even though we got to the playoffs, even though the Giants got to the playoffs, even though you're bringing back your 2 best offensive players, it is still building, and you got a lot to do. The cap, the cap space they got this offseason with free agency starting, gonna get that. See what you bring in there, and then you also have the draft, 11 picks in the draft. So this is very, very meaningful. So I don't know. Obviously, everyone's clamoring for a wide receiver, but obviously that defense needs help, especially in that secondary. All right. So let's move on from the Giants. Sticking with football, though. There's a lot of football news going on, though. Also got to mention Jalen Ramsey getting traded to the Dolphins. Make sure you tune in to Sports Talk with R&J on Wednesday at 1, where I'm sure you, Justin, and Steve will be talking about that. And then also, I mean, I'm hearing a bunch of rumors that Aaron Rodgers could be traded any day now, but I feel like those rumors have been going on for
years
at this point. So yeah, but let us talk about an actual trade that happened. Big one for this offseason. Chicago Bears trade the first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers for DJ Moore, the 9th overall pick this year, and the 61st overall pick this year, and 2024 first round pick, and a 2025 second round pick. And the Bears also might be a little bit of a domino effect. They might even trade back even farther, try and get some more assets. I've been hearing that as well. So Chicago can still do a lot of stuff. I mean, they're building on what they got. Justin Fields. It's obvious now. I hated that. As much as I hate everyone talking about Aaron Rodgers during the offseason, how every day, if you watch ESPN, there's going to be one segment on Aaron Rodgers. I think worse than that this offseason was people talking, should the Bears keep Justin Fields? That was ridiculous. They obviously are now. But let's hold on to the Bears there for a second. Let's talk about the Panthers. Who did the Panthers trade up to get? Who is this number? Who do you think the number one pick is here for the Panthers? Because obviously Anthony Richardson's jumping up. Bryce Young, he's losing some stock with his height. I talked about it with Sean last week when we were recapping the NFL Combine. CJ Stroud is just sitting there. I don't know why he's losing stock, but he's just super consistent. But so if you're the Carolina Panthers, who are you going to use that number one overall pick for, Justin?
I think I'd use it on CJ Stroud, and I know I've seen that maybe Carolina's doing it to, Anthony Richardson in the full too, but I think Richardson maybe had the most potential, but I think under the right system and the right staff, and I don't think that you'll get the full potential of Carolina. I think, CJ Stroud, the guy's 6'3", has some mobility, but it, maybe it isn't the greatest out there. But I think with his arm strength, I think you saw against that Georgia team in the college football playoff, with his arm, what he's able to do kind of under pressure. A guy that kind of under Ryan Day that's done a really good job with quarterbacks in that system. The guy for me would probably be CJ Stroud at the Panthers. Who they should take with that number one pick. Yes, the height's the issue with Bryce Young. I do worry a little bit about injuries because of his height kind of down the line. But I think CJ Stroud is kind of the guy out of those kind of, him and Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, I think could be the best out of those four.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And listen, I don't want to take anything away from Anthony Richardson, but I feel like everyone's argument is just his whole career thus far has just been comparisons. He goes to Florida, obviously wearing the 15. Everyone's like, Tim Tebow, Cam Newton. And then now you have Carolina Panthers trading up to him. Oh my gosh, Cam Newton 2.0. Just because you have the measurables doesn't mean you're going to turn into that. So I mean, when does on the field play matter? It feels like it doesn't. Because I mean, Josh Allen, obviously, the people are going to bring him up. Yeah, Wyoming, he didn't look great, but he was at Wyoming. He didn't have stars. This is still Florida. Granted, this isn't the Urban Meyer Florida. He's still got stars on that team, and he wasn't able to do anything great besides beating my Utah Utes. Because Cam Rising threw a pick, like Utah should have won that game, but that's neither here nor there. So I don't understand it. Yeah, measurables are cool, but I care about the product on the football field, and I don't think Anthony Richardson does that for me. That gives you that. So I'm with you with CJ Stroud. And with Bryce Young, his height, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Look at all the quarterbacks that have come in. Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, all these guys have come in, had the questions at height, and been able to succeed. I think with any quarterback, we like to put quarterbacks on this high stature because they are the most important part of the team. But it doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is. You need the talent around him. So I think either way you put that talent around him, either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, I think they're going to do well. But I think C.J. Stroud would be a little bit better just in an NFL setting. But so I'm glad we agree on that. And it's crazy because I had Sean on here. He agreed C.J. Stroud too. So how is there a consensus on C.J. Stroud, but these guys are bumping up? I don't understand it. I don't understand it, Justin.
Yeah, me neither. Because I know Anthony Rich had a great combine, but I'm with you. Like you watch the game film, and I know both me and you are big college football junkies, and we both saw a lot of the Florida games, and it's all like it seems like it's all about the potential, but you can only get that full potential if you put him around the right system and the right staff. And I don't know, Carolina would be that team because I remember watching that South Florida game this year, and that South Florida team had one of the worst defenses we've seen in the last couple of years, and he struggled. He was like 12 for 26, 140 yards, couple picks. Like he was nothing special. And and if you struggle with that defense, how are you going to survive in the NFL? So I'm with you. It kind of seems like everybody loves. They just see the potentials, and you mentioned the comparisons, and everybody's all excited over it. It's the same thing with Will Levis. I feel like too. Everybody kind of thinks he could be the next Josh Allen, but it's like, you never know till you put him back on the field. But yeah, I think a guy like Stroud and Young who have done it, we've seen that could kind of play on the highest level and had fantastic numbers. It is interesting that some of these guys put the mock drafts and they have Richardson and Levis, right there. Because both those guys, I see why they do it, but it's like I just haven't seen it enough on the field to go. I'd be really confident in those in the Levis and Richardson going like a number one overall.
Yeah, and I'm here like harking on that and the measurables and that stuff. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I used to be that guy. I came on. I was talking a lot about how Justin Herbert should go number one over Joe Burrow, and that was the real that was the epiphany moment for me. I'm the biggest Joe Burrow guy. Last year, on John about the GMen before the Super Bowl, I got flamed for saying Joe Burrow's going to the Hall of Fame because I think he is. He's that good. So I love Joe Burrow now, but that was a turning point for me. It's not all about how cool how good they look, how sexy they are, how well they can throw the deep ball, how fast they are. It's not about that. It's about just being the quarterback position is very, very mental and that stuff, and knowing what you have to do, where the ball has to be at the right time. And Anthony Richardson, he hasn't really shown me that too much at Florida. So, all right, let's it's exciting. It's exciting though. I'm excited to see this movement, to see someone trade up, especially the Panthers. Hopefully they can get their guy, and hopefully this could be something because the Panthers, I like when the Panthers are winning. Like I like that whole Cam Newton run. Their uniforms are just so cool. I like seeing them in the playoffs. I like seeing them do well because I like seeing that teal and black and silver. It's just cool. So hopefully they can build on something here. But let's take a look at the other side of the coin. The Bears, obviously, the whole Jalen Carter situation, I think, really nailed this in the coffin that okay, they're not going to get they're not going to keep the number one overall pick. They're going to trade it, and it honestly helped them because now you don't got to trade back a couple spots to try and get a Jalen Carter or a Will Anderson. You if you're not okay with Will Anderson, if you're okay losing Will Anderson, trade back a little bit more, get something that, granted, they have a lot of needs, but I don't necessarily think D-line is that big of a need for the Carolina Panthers. So I like this trade back. To me, I think A perfect fit would be Peter.
I can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it. It's like Sikorsky, but
Sikorsky. I apologize for that. But yeah, I think them going back, getting that, helping Justin Fields. I also do know that Justin Fields has come out and said he would really, really love if Jackson Smith and Jigba could end up on the team. I mean, we've seen what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can do. So maybe, but no, I think protect him. I've been saying this. I've been saying this for almost a decade with the Giants. I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm obviously I played high school O-line. I love O-line. Protect the man, and I think that's the guy to do. Also from Northwestern, grew up in the area, knows the Chicago area. I think Bears fans would love that. So that's why I think they're eyeing on. It might even be like we don't know how far Jalen Carter is going to fall after all the off the field stuff. So maybe he falls to 9th. Maybe they do end up going to wide receiver. What do you see the Bears doing here?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they go at tackle for Pearson Orski out of Northwestern. Because he got hurt a couple of times last year. He's a guy that he's gotten hit a lot early on in his career, and for the first time in a while, because I'm like, you think about it, when's the Bears the last time they've really had a really good franchise quarterback? And it's it's been 20, 25, 30 years. It's been a while since the Bears have actually had somebody, and you finally have glimpses of that. But yeah, you don't want him to be like the next Andrew Luck and be out of the league in 5 years because he's racked up all these concussions. So I'm with you. I think you got to go the offensive line. Yeah, they're building some draft capital, and I don't think this is like the strongest offensive line class either this year. So I think you can get a defensive line later on, and I think right now it would be for the Bears early on if they can get an offensive line guy very early on here. I think it'd be the smart choice for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to say this, but in today's NFL, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it just matters a lot less. Like, if you have an offense that can consistently put up 30 points, you're going to win most of your games. It doesn't matter how many points your defense really gives up. If you can go tit for tat with any offense, but besides the Chiefs, because no one can go tit for tat with Patrick Mahomes, you can win football games. So I think, invest in the offense as much as you can because that's the new NFL. And you can once you see that stuff, once players can really see your offense and how it is going, defensive, that's where you're going to get free agents and that stuff. Come in defensively. And the Bears have the most cap space this year to work with, so there's going to be a lot of stuff. I mean, we're talking about Sikorsky right now. But who knows? They might go out and get a couple guards and tackles, and that might not even be the need. They might end up going with the Jackson Smith and Jigba or whoever at wide receiver, or there's a lot of options the Bears can go. I mean, there's a reason they had the number 1 overall pick. They were the worst team. The only thing they don't need is a quarterback. That's the only thing, really. So we'll see what happens. But a long road to, I mean, we're, almost a month away, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
Month, about a month, because it's late April. I forget the dates, but about a month and a half away. Getting pretty close. It's crazy, but absolutely, it's right on the corner. The NFL draft.
Yeah, and I mean, free agency starts. Is it this week?
We start at noon, I think.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of stuff, a lot of movement, a lot of interesting stuff going on around the league. But it doesn't matter. I think other than Aaron Rodgers getting traded, I don't think the NFL is going to do anything to take away from the NCAA tournament. because it's just fun. And I think this year's especially even more fun because there's so much parity. There's so many different teams. I remember last year going in saying, hey, it's gonna either be Gonzaga or I had like all the number ones. It was gonna be Gonzaga or Kansas so that's how I felt. And look at Kansas came in. Granted, there were the UNC no one had, and a bunch of other teams made like a run. But I think when it comes down to it, there's so many different teams here. I will say my favorite, though, to win it all is Alabama. I put in a bet right after the whole situation. I'll just say the South Carolina game when Brandon Miller dropped 41. All eyes are on him. So much scrutiny is on him. And he goes out and does that. That just sold me. Got him at plus 900, right? So I think that's going to pay off if they win. But I'm going to read off my list right now, and then I want to hear your list of how many teams you can realistically see winning it all. So right now, obviously, Alabama, Houston, Purdue, and Kansas. Those are the 4 seeds, right? I mean,
the 4 number ones, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously you got to have that. Then I also have UCLA and Arizona. Arizona's been on and off that list for me, but I put them there because they beat UCLA. Purdue, Baylor, Texas is another team that's been going on and off that list for me. Gonzaga, Marquette. So that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams, and I've been listening. But I've been listening to a lot of like experts, and people have upwards of like 20 teams.
Yeah.
So I do have another. I have 11 teams, but my 11th team is my Cinderella team. So we'll get to that in a little bit. How many teams can you realistically see winning the championship?
Yeah, I think there's going to be upward of the 15. I got Houston 1, UCLA 2, Kansas 3, 4, Bama, 5, Purdue, 6, Marquette, 7, Texas, 8, Arizona, 9, Gonzaga, 10, Baylor, 11, UConn. I got 12 at Miami. I really like their guard play. But like in a year like this, I think, you could see like that Miami, they got a 5 seed, could have a chance. I like Creighton as well. I love their starting 5. I think you go back to North Carolina this year, they had no depth. Creighton doesn't have much depth either, but that's a team. Greg McDermott's one of the best coaches in the game. I think they go on a run, and I think Xavier thing like Creighton, they don't have depth. Sean Miller kind of struggles when it gets to the month of March, but I think that's another team with their starting 5. In Soleil Boom, they got a chance. So yeah, I think there's close to 14 or 15 teams that could win it. I'm right there with you. It's very wide open, and there's not, and it's one of these teams has to win 6 straight. One of them does, and there hasn't been a lot of times this year where the teams have kind of looked great for 6 straight games and kind of pull it off. But one of these teams has to. So yeah, I think it's wide open. I think it's one of these years where I wouldn't be shocked to see like a UConn of 2014 where we see a 6 or 7 seed win this whole thing.
Yeah, I had UConn on here for a while on my list. Obviously, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a UConn fan, but I live in Connecticut, so I obviously follow them. But with the abysmal performances that got put out in that loss to Marquette, I don't know. I just don't think they have the depth. Not too big of a fan of Hurley. The biggest thing with me making my list here was looking at coaching wise. That's why I struggled to. Texas was on and off a lot because they have the players. They've been great, but just having that mid-season shakeup at coach, I don't know. Granted, they have looked good, and I mean, blowing out Kansas the way they did, that's what really cemented them for me to put them on this list. So coaching also a team that I had on there and I was struggling with, Tennessee. That's another team. Season points of the season, they've looked like they could be a contender, but then there have been points where like just really, really bad. And also but the thing with me that puts Alabama ahead of everyone for me is I don't know if it's the colors or if it's just how good Brandon Miller is. I'm getting like Buddy Hield Oklahoma vibes from them. But I trust Nate Oates more as a coach. Granted, I don't. He's a stupid for what he says off the court. But when it comes to the X's and O's and on that basketball court, he's good. And also, I mean, Coach K's gone now. We need that villain in college basketball. And I think with the way things have gone, I think Alabama might be that. And also think about, we talked about college football. Think about how fun the SEC would be when every road game, the student section is chanting something like basketball school, or you see the signs on game day. Alabama's a basketball school now if they win the championship here. So I'm all in on Bama. But like I said, like Kansas, I think they're probably the number 2 for me because they feel, obviously they don't have a Baji, but they feel very, very similar to how they felt last year. Like Bill Self, talk about coaching wise. Bill Self has been like this, likes to draw stuff up and that stuff. He used to feel very, very old school coaching wise. But then when you got to the tournament last year, seeing them push the pace and get out and run with it with the wings they had, that didn't look like Kansas basketball. But that's what got them to the big dance. That's what got them the championship. I think they can do that again this year. So I don't know. And then I obviously it's just a lot. There's a lot going on here. Another team I want to talk about. I want to focus on a little bit more, and I want to ask your opinions on them because I feel like just everyone is eclipsing them. Like as far as like media plays, no one's really talking about them, and it's because of where they are, who they've played. But I mean, we've seen them make a little bit of a run before, and that's Houston. Like I get it. They aren't playing the best competition. Yeah, they have a loss to Temple. Yeah, they lost in the championship to Memphis. But it isn't like we haven't seen them make a run, and they've been. Talk about granted, it might be a little bit because of their conference and not necessarily playing great teams, but you talk about a year with a bunch of inconsistencies, they've been the most consistent team. So I want to know your thoughts on Houston. Like, where do you have them as far as like able to win the championship?
For me right now, they did lose Saturday. One of the best guards in the country, in Marcus Sasser, and it was a groin strain. I don't know his status right now. If he's good and he's healthy, it's a Houston team that I think has a very good shot. But they're so reliant on Marcus Sasser and Jones Sneed, where that without Sasser, it's kind of a lot on Sneed's kind of back. Jarris Walker, was a freshman 5-star, probably a borderline lottery pick in the draft this year. And Calvin Sampson is the best coach in the entire country. That's a team they play really hard defensively, but it's also a team as well because they don't play very fast. They like to play their games in the 60s where they're not really going to blow you out. And that's the thing where teams are going to hang around. But if they have Marcus Sasser in that backcourt and he's fully healthy, then Final Four is in Houston. I think it's a team that could cut down the nets. But yeah, without Marcus Sasser, I think it's a team that's very vulnerable. Maybe not to lose in the first weekend, but it's a team possibly I could see go down in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I actually love that you brought up the Final Four being in Houston because let's throw on some tinfoil conspiracy hats here. Final Four's in Houston. Obviously, you got Houston. This is Jim Nance's last Final Four he's calling. You know where he went to college? University of Houston. So, I mean, how great would that be just seeing him at the end with Houston? But, I mean, everyone was on the conspiracy bandwagon for Coach K last year. So, who knows? But, all right, let's wrap it up here. Who's your Cinderella story? Who are you predicting to be the St. Peter's last year? Who are you predicting to go and make this run?
I'm going with the Kent State Golden Flashes this year. I think a team they play Indiana last game Friday night, or one of the last games Friday night. They got Sincere Carter Carey, who averages close to 18 points a game. He's a 5th-year guy, and then they have probably one of the best perimeter defenders in all of college basketball, Malik Jacobs. And Indiana, they're very vulnerable when Jalen Hood-Schifino struggles, and Jacobson could do that to him. And I think it's a Kent State team that plays really good defense. They got some really good guard play that they can score the basketball. Rob Senderoff, I think, is a very good coach, and I think he's a guy, he can win a couple games. I think he's got a chance to be looked at a Power 5 gig. My one worry is kind of defending Trace Jackson Davis, but I think the Kent State team, if they can move on, they can knock off Indiana in Albany. I think it's a team too that could beat off Miami or Drake as well. I do think it's a team that could get to at least Sweet 16. Kent State's made a Elite 8 in 02, so it's a team that's gone on a run before. I think Kent State could be a team that knocks off Indiana and makes a run.
I like that. I like that Kent State pick. I was watching. I had my eye really close on Toledo because I think they were playing really, really good basketball, and obviously I saw that championship game, and yeah, I mean Kent State is right there, and I like that pick. For me, I got a SpongeBob Square pick as my Cinderella. Oral Roberts. I was watching one of the college game days. Jay Billis said in the past, I don't remember how many years. I want to say 16 seasons or something. The NCAA champion has been top 10 in multiple. I want to say at least 3 statistical offensive categories, and Oral Roberts is up there. Obviously, Max Abmas, and then obviously the big guy, Vanover. Yeah, I mean, and he's going viral. Everyone's seeing him cutting down the nets without using the ladder. So I think they got something. Obviously, they got spanked by Houston, and Abmas only had 3 points in that game. I mean, and Houston's really, really good. So I think they could make a run. Can I see them hoisting up the title? I have them on my list. They're last on my list. They were that 11 team that I was talking about, but just with what they have, I think they can make a run, possibly to the Final Four. But I don't think they can win it. But granted, like, this was a team I feel like people have been talking about a couple years now, that they did have that upset. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2021, yeah.
Yeah, so they did have that. I hope this can be the year where they actually do something with that, because I think they have a decent enough squad to do so. But I have been like, I'm not. I'm a Cuse fan when it comes to college basketball. Cuse sucks. So I've honestly paid more attention to Oral Roberts than I have Syracuse. I will honestly say they're probably my favorite team this year. So there's a lot of bias here, but I think they can do it.
Kind of random. Guy's 7'5". The dude can knock down the three-point shot as well. Like, he can pull away Derek Lively from the hoop and Whitehead. I definitely think Oral Roberts got a chance to be due. The one thing is with Filipowski, Lively, Whitehead, they're just, how do they handle them? How do they handle on the boards? Because outside of Vanover, they're not very big. But absolutely, it's a team that everybody saw 2 years ago do it. Max Aber is still one of the best guards in the entire country. I could see that. I could see Oral Roberts going up there. I think that's the best 12 seed in the in the field, and that's definitely a team that could knock somebody off, especially Tennessee. They and I think they could beat Tennessee or Louisiana Lafayette, whoever comes out in that same pool. So yeah, I think it's a good pick. I think Oral Roberts is that's a phenomenal team, and Paul Mills is a phenomenal coach, and out of that Scott Drew tree, who he's got some pretty good ones so far in his career.
Yeah. Before I move on, I feel like we haven't mentioned Purdue. I feel like we should, because I out of all the teams, I feel they're like third up there. Like you say what you want about Painter as a coach. I mean, obviously Edey isn't like new age basketball. Like, just I like seeing him go in the post because I used to be a big man. I like that style of play, but that's another team that I could see hoisting it up there, and I feel like they're not getting a lot of respect just because Edey is like a traditional big man and that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a team that definitely could, of course, cut down the nets in Houston in a couple weeks, but I not that strongly on them because they got two freshman guards in Smith and Foster Lawyer, and they really struggle when you press them. You put a lot of pressure on those two guards. They really struggle to handle it. And I think you could get a second round matchup against Memphis, and Penny Hardaway loves to do that type of stuff. I don't know why more Big Ten, because they've blown some games this year, Purdue, and it's at the under 4. It's like, okay, let's finally start pressing them, and teams get back into the games. And I don't know why some of these teams haven't done it for 40 minutes. And I think Purdue, and I think Matt Painter's done a phenomenal job. I think he's a very good developing guys because he doesn't get a ton of 4 or 5-star guys. But yeah, and again, these games with Edey, they're going to be ref differently now that they're in the NCAA tournament. Big Ten they let you play a lot more. Sometimes the NCAA tournament, they'll tighten some things up. So it'll be interesting how some of these crews, handle Zach Edey at 7'5", how they call their game. So for Purdue, absolutely, I could see it, but I'm not highly confident in them because of their 2 freshman guards. I kind of see them maybe struggling. Even a Florida Atlantic could put some pressure on them. That's a very good 9 seed as well. So Purdue can, but I'm not that confident just because of their guards.
Okay, I totally get that. I mean, but speaking of their guards, for them losing Ivy and who was the other one? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. But I mean, obviously Ivy big, and then for them to just with in the Big Ten where everything was kind of up and down, they've been that consistent. They were that consistent one pretty much all season. But I want to wrap things up here. I'm kind of throwing you a curveball here. Didn't mention it in the notes. Have you filled out your bracket yet? Your initial bracket?
I have not. I won't. Oh. I won't till Thursday morning. But
okay.
Kind of. Okay. No, I have some leans right now, but I wait till Thursday morning.
All right. All right. Then I'll just give you my final 4, what I have right now, and I just want your thoughts about it. So obviously Bama, I got a future on them, so I got them going. And then I got Marquette, Bama facing off in that one. Marquette just so deep. Also talk about coaching, Shaka Smart. And then them, no real expectations for them to come in and be as good as they are. So I'm high on Marquette. I was going to be high on whoever won the Big East, to be honest with you, because just because I don't like UConn, but I root for them because I'm in Connecticut. So I was looking at that, but then obviously Marquette. Then on the other side, I got Texas and UCLA. Texas scares me, like I said, because of the coaching stuff. But they got the talent. But and then UCLA, we didn't really talk that much about them. Obviously, the big, loss.
Adam Bona.
Yeah. But no, I mean the big disappointing loss in the Pac-12 tournament. That's rough. But Jaime Jaquez is a monster. He's a beast. Ever since they made that run that was 2 years ago too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Ever since they made that run, I've loved Jaime Jaquez. He's just awesome. So I have Bama beating UCLA in the national championship. What do you think? Can you see that happening?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Alabama right now again, kind of end of the year. Yeah. Kind of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes with Brandon Miller. Kind of looked shaky, but this weekend they looked really good in the SEC tournament, and they looked a lot better. And I think Alabama's got the easiest draw too. They're it's not bad whatsoever. So you get to Elite Eight, and yeah, you in Arizona would be a fun one. Yeah, and then Marquette as well. I saw them, this weekend at the BU tournament. They were second away from losing St. John's, but they found a way, and then they throttled a very good Xavier team Saturday night. They found a way defensively. Olivier Prosper, Max Prosmus, was amazing defensively against Jordan Hawkins, who's arguably could be a lottery pick this in the upcoming draft. Marquette and Shaka Smart. He didn't fit at Texas because he fits at a team like Marquette where you're the underdog and he can put the team on he can kind of motivate his guys. It's tough to do that at Texas. Everybody at Texas doesn't really think of you as an underdog, and he thrives very well at Marquette. Yeah, Texas as well. Yeah, the only thing is a little bit, their defense played really well Saturday night. I do have a little bit concerned about them Saturday night, and as you mentioned too, the coaching. Terry didn't do much at UTEP and Fresno State. Yeah, so it's too not easy, but I think he's done a really good job for the circumstances. And yeah, UCLA, they lost Jalen Clark a couple weeks ago, who is probably they're arguably the second or third best player. But again, a Mick Cronin team, like I think now a lot of teams are counting them, or a lot of people counting them out now because of that injury. But I could see Mick Cronin with that team kind of chips on their shoulders. That it seems like a team that really does not like to lose. I could see that UCLA team going on yet another run. You mentioned Jaime Hawkins, a couple years ago had that huge run. Big part of why they got to that Final Four and had that class against Gonzaga. Alabama. To me, that's a team I'm leaning towards. I don't usually like taking number one overall seeds, especially in this year where how wide open it is. But yeah, that plus 900 bet for Alabama, that's definitely a good one because you ain't getting a number close to that number, anymore.
No, not at all. And also another reason why I picked Alabama is, I mean, look at the NBA draft. Look at it. Like everyone's talking about Wembanyama, obviously, Scoot, G League. So like, there's not a lot NBA wise. There's really no eyes getting drawn to the NCAA tournament, and I feel like Brandon Miller could have like a little bit of like I mentioned Buddy Hield before, like a little Carmelo Anthony, me being a Cuse guy, a little bit of a run there, propel himself. Maybe I don't think anyone's catching up to Webby, but I think if he wins the NCAA tournament, I think I'm not going to say he's going to be up there, but I'm going to say that will be a segment on ESPN the next day. Would you take Brandon Miller or Webby? I see that coming already. So, yeah, and I mean, we talked obviously a lot about the conference tournaments because that's the most recent thing in our head. But there were so many teams that were disappointing. UCLA, Kansas, all these teams that we thought were gonna pull out of there. Alabama took care of business. So yeah, I got Alabama. Roll Tide, I guess. That feels weird to say, not ironically. But so yeah, it's gonna be a fun one though. I mean, never have I felt so in the dark going into this. Like, I'm on Bama, but I could see anything happening. Anything.
Yeah, anything could happen. It's a weird year where, you can see a lot of upsets. You could see some wacky kind of Elite Eight, Final Four kind of, matchups. So, this is if you like the upsets and all that, it's gonna be. I expect it to be a fun one because there's a lot of potential upsets and it's gonna be a wild one. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but even if it is just chalk, like who wouldn't want to see Purdue versus Bama or Kansas versus Houston. I was talking about disrespecting Houston, and there I go, just forgetting them. But yeah, so it'll be fun. I'm excited, and obviously build up, and it's going to be even more fun watching it. But that's going to do it for today. Big shout out to Annie Mac Home Mortgage for sponsoring today's episode, and also big shout out to Clovercrest Media. Make sure you check out clovercrestmedia.com for more episodes of this podcast and other great podcasts like Sports Talk with R&J with Justin and Steve Risser. I'm sure you're going to talk a lot more about the NCAA tournament on Wednesday with Steve and probably and a bunch of other stuff that we talked about here. You're probably going to go in with that as well. And a lot more. Who knows? Aaron Rodgers could be traded by the time by the time you guys go live. Lamar Jackson. I mean, and also big contract stuff in the NFL as well. D linemen getting paid, which is I like seeing, obviously. But thanks again for coming on, Justin.
Thanks for having me, Jace.
No problem. And hopefully we'll have you back on soon, maybe like Final Four or something.
I love it.
Talk more college basketball. But thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. We'll be back next week for more John About the GMen. I'm Big Jace. That's Justin D'Onofrio. Take care, everyone.
Open, Shepard, all alone. Shepard breaks a tackle and into the end zone. Sterling Shepard.
Thibodeau got there, got the ball out, scooped it and scored. Touchdown Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau.
Second down, 5. Jones again. Oh, here he goes. He can see the pylon. Touchdown.
Barkley looking for a seam. Great cut. Saquon Barkley in for the touchdown.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.